And so I have a special invitation for you today. In the month of November, can you believe it's November already? Where has the year gone? Well, in November, we are setting apart a special day. I wrote it on the board because I want you to write it down too. Because if you're like me, if it's not written down, it's not remembered. But on Thursday, November the 19th, we are having an Alzheimer's Education Day here at Emmanuel, and it's in the afternoon from 1 to 6. We're going to have speakers. One of them will be Dr. Hinkey. He'll probably be here more like 5:30. We're going to kind of finish off the afternoon with Dr. Hinkey, and he'll be presenting as also as welcoming your questions. And so that will be a big part of our day. We are also going to have information stations and have staff available. Evercare will be here doing some mini mental tests and just talking about how does one get diagnosed and what are the signs and things to look for as we think about Alzheimer's. As you know, nationwide, this November is the month that we learn deliberately concentrate on Alzheimer's, its symptoms, its management, the research that's going on, and the hope that is being brought from that research. For Alzheimer's doesn't just affect a person, but also the caregivers, the extended family, the neighborhood, the community, and even all the world. And so it's a very important day. We want you to write that down. Thursday, November 19th, even if you don't have a loved one that has that diagnosis, it's always important to learn because you might have a neighbor or someone else that you hear about that could use a little bit of encouragement, a word, a kind word. So this day is set aside when here at Emmanuel we are going to concentrate on this disease and how we can continue to support one another and learn about it. Now, I'm going to sit here and share with you a very special book that I've come across. It's called, I'll hold it up here for you, Alzheimer's Forgetting Piece by Piece. And what this book is, it's to raise awareness and to fund Alzheimer's research. 54 remarkably talented quilt makers share their creativity in a traveling exhibit called Alzheimer's Forgetting Piece by Piece. And what it is these 54 people have each made a quilt. And these quilts are on display. In fact, Emmanuel is trying to make arrangements to have this display brought here. It won't be for our November 19th, but it's a nationwide thing. And so these 54 people have created each a quilt, and they talked a little bit about why they made this quilt and the symbolism represented in it. And so I'd like to share with you a few of these pictures because, as I said, Alzheimer's doesn't just affect the one who has the diagnosis, but the caregivers as well. So I'm going to put my glasses on, and you remember these are my glasses with the magnet in the middle, so I didn't break them. This is just what they do. People get kind of freaked out about it, so I'd like to explain it. But look at this picture, this quilt. This is a quilt now, and it's called Leaving Us. Get it? Leaf, with all the leaves on there, Leaving Us. And this person writes, "The slow progression of my dad's Alzheimer's was initially easy to ignore. He lived alone in Florida after my mom died. When he told us he had bugs in his apartment at night and said he was trying to kill them with a hammer, we chose to ignore it. When he phoned our house 12 times a day, we ignored it. When he showed up at his doctor's office several times in 1 week, we ignored it. When his landlord told us his lease couldn't be renewed because of his behavior, we could no longer ignore it. Dad lost his memory, his ability to balance a checkbook, and his ability to walk. He would fall out of bed every night, and we were finally left with a father who could no longer function." And so this quilt talks about how the tree, all full of leaves, healthy and strong, begins with the leaves falling, and finally they're left with the bare trunk. So a lot of symbolism in this, but again, very honest about that first diagnosis and how easy it is just to rationalize it out. Now this picture I found very, very telling. It has confusion on the bottom, the word confusion, it's stitched on the bottom. But notice the question marks and how they even make a heart. Because even though a person is dealing with this dementia, and they are often confused and asking questions, love continues. To me, this has hope in it as well. But the person who created this quilt says, Alzheimer's is confusion. Commonplace things become mysterious, their identity and purpose impossible to discern. With confusion often comes loneliness and isolation. And so this person started with bright colors, and you can see how everything's in place and how slowly the pieces fall until there's just pieces lying flat and the colors fade. So again, so much beautiful, rich symbolism in this quilt. Then I thought this one was a very, very appropriate quilt, and it's called Puzzling Memories. And you can see that some of the pieces seem to be missing. This person writes, the pieces in this jigsaw puzzle represent individual experiences that make up our memories. And when this project began, all the fabric pieces were bright and bold and easily distinguished one from another. And so it is before the onset of Alzheimer's. And then things slowly begin to change. And so she represents us in this quilt. Another quilt that I found very, like I say, there's 54 of them. This is a very, very good book. A good book to reflect on, and a good book to lift up some of these important aspects that we need to talk about. But I really appreciated this. So if you are a caregiver, this quilt really says something. The person writes, I was a caregiver for a client with Alzheimer's. Often I was unsure of the best way to help this person. Together we were lost. I would say, let's try this today and see how it goes. We'll take it one day at a time. It was exhausting for us to get through a day, much less to face tomorrow. Caregiving was very repetitive and often tedious, doing the same tasks over and over. Now look at this quilt and how there's the same pattern over and over and over. I like the word tedious because as a caregiver you probably recognize the exhaustion that comes. There are 1,440 pieces in my quilt, one for each of the minutes in a day. They represent the repetition of care. So isn't that interesting? Well, I'm going to show you one more quilt, and it's a quilt that has hope in it. And then hopefully I'll have this book available that you may look at it too when you come on the 19th, because we really would like you to come and be a part of, here it is. It's called The Song Goes On. And I guess I liked it because it starts off with a purse. Yeah, right up here is a purse, and then all these things kind of have fallen out of the purse. It says, pieces lost, but the song goes on. Alzheimer's has become a part of our family, this author writes. And as caregivers, we were a witness to the decline of our loved one. And so even though the pieces were lost, the hope goes on. So this is a quilt of hope. And like I say, this whole book has all 54 quilts in it with the little stories and little tidbits about the disease. So we here at Emmanuel, we invite you to come on Thursday. There's no charge. And we just want to have things available for you to help you with your journey, in your learning, in your education, and however we can help you, that's what we want to be. So we are celebrating life through education and through invitation. So welcome, and see you again soon.